Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the BYD Atto3. Now this is a very important product because it's from the world's largest electric car maker. They have been present in the Indian market for longer than you think. They have been around for over a decade and they are a manufacturer who you really need to know about. So I'll brief you about who they are first. They are not just an electric car maker, they are into electronics componentry as a whole. They make battery cells, they make batteries, they make semiconductors, they make cell phone chips. So they control this entire process of making an electric car end to end. They also own silicon mines. So the entire process of mining the silicon to building semiconductors, to building powertrains, batteries, everything is controlled by this manufacturer end to end, and in that sense they are one of a kind manufacturer in the world. So they don't really have any dependencies and they really are the experts when it comes to electric cars, and this car is an exponent of their mastery. They have been present here with the E6 as well, which is an MPV, but this is a more appealing SUV which has been presented to the Indian market now, and it does pack in a lot of features. But let's first talk about its dimensions because I'm pretty sure that you want to know how big it is. So in terms of dimensions, it's quite big. It doesn't look like it is a very big vehicle, but it's bigger than the MG ZS, it's bigger than the Hyundai Creta, and in terms of length, width and wheelbase, this is substantially bigger than the two vehicles that I talked about, but in terms of height, it's a little lower. To be exact, it's 155 mm longer than the Creta and has a wheelbase which is 110 mm longer. In terms of width also, it is 85 mm wider than the Creta. Now when you look at the design, the exteriors of this car are supposedly inspired by the Dragon, and as a whole, I would say that this doesn't come across as a very strong looking SUV. It is not an AWD, that's something that you need to be clear about. It's a two-wheel drive, that's a front-wheel drive vehicle. Now while BYD is calling it an SUV, when you look at it, it doesn't come across as a very muscular or a very brawny design. It is instead a very sophisticated, very evolved kind of a design, and it doesn't have the brawn or the muscle that you generally associate with SUVs. The bonnet isn't very high and it has very organic lines. However, there are some details that you would really appreciate, and here you have this satin silver finished chrome with BYD branding and a very nicely done DRL which is connected. So when you light up the lights, the DRL is completely connected. You get LED projector headlamps, and if you look at these details, all of these details have been inspired by a Dragon. Also, what's interesting are these four vents which look rather aggressive, and overall the front looks nice and sophisticated without too many elements. It does come across as an evolved design. It also comes with a 360-degree camera, and of course all the radar based sensors are here. So it comes with level 2 ADAS features, and it is one of the more evolved ADAS vehicles in the country as of now. And when you look inside the bay, this is what you'll find. It's not entirely empty. You have the controller and the motor and everything else here, and you have a fair bit of insulation also, although there are no vibrations. But on the inside, this being an electric vehicle, it feels super sophisticated and silent. On the side, you have the charger only on one end. You don't have the charger socket on both the sides like you have on some vehicles, and the charging socket is here. You press this panel once and it opens, and here is where you have the charging sockets. Now in terms of charging times, the DC fast charging will charge 0 to 80% in 50 minutes, and if you're charging it on AC, it will take about 10 hours. Now the socket that I showed you can also be used for vehicle to load, and you can power your electrical equipment which is up to 3300 watts power consuming. You also get this BYD design branding on the fender. Very EV specific wheels which look rather nice, 215 section 18-inch wheels, discs up front and at the rear. And as I mentioned before, the height of this car is not too much. You have roof rails, a big panoramic sunroof, shark fin antenna, mounted blinkers, and the ground clearance according to BYD in the unladen state is 175, although it looks a little bit more to me, and I can tell you that over bad surfaces that's not a problem at all. An interesting design detail is that when you open the door, it covers the panel completely and the doors run all the way down, so your dress will not be soiled when you come down. Now the design on the side is very clean, unlike a lot of other Chinese cars that we have seen before, and It looks very sophisticated, very European, if you will. And there is this chrome lining around the greenhouse area. And this detail is of interest in particular because it resembles the dragon's scales and is another nod to this car being inspired from a dragon. The spoiler also extends back and it gives it a very sporty kind of a look. Now at the rear you have this chrome slat which highlights the width of the car. You have the full form of BYD, which is build your dreams, right here. Then you have this defogger, and just like the front you have these inlays in black, just the way you had the 4 aggressive inlets up front with horizontal accents. You have the same treatment here as well, and you have this satin silver accent at the skid plate area. Of course, this is the 360-degree camera system, so the rear camera sits right here, and the entire lighting here is LED. And if you look closely, you'll find some elements which are inspired by the Dragon. Another small details, while the blinkers up front are static, the ones at the rear are swipe outs. So that's one detail that you would probably want to know. Overall, as I mentioned before, it looks like a very sophisticated design, and the shape of this car belies its size. It's a big car, mind you, but it doesn't look it. It doesn't come across as very brawny, very SUV-ish, and it is also a two-wheel drive system, but it does come across as a very sophisticated, very refined kind of a vehicle. Now, apart from the key, you can use this NFC card also to get inside the car, and you have to touch it on the ORVMs or the door handles to get inside. Now this car also comes with a ton of features, and to start talking about them, I'll show you this key, wherein you just have to press this button twice to open the remote controlled powered tailgate, and the boot space inside is also quite enormous. One of the largest in the segment. Not just that, it also comes with a 60/40 split rear seat to extend the boot area if you so wish. That's where you have the illumination. And the boot area on this car is 440 liters, and that's quite a lot, although the MG ZS comes with 448 liters, but this is quite useful and you can take your family out for a longish holiday with this much space. Now underneath this tray you also have some more space to spare with a puncture repair kit. There is no spare wheel on this car, which I personally believe is an omission, a serious omission. You can use this button to bring the tailgate down, and as you would imagine, this is anti-pinch. Now another interesting feature that this car has is the power on function, and before you enter the car you can prime the car for use and it would be ready to be driven away. You just have to press this button here, and as you can see now, the mirrors have unfolded and the blinkers are on, and if you look at the screen inside, it's lit, which essentially means that the push button start is on. And now when you enter the car after unlocking it, you can just drive away. So essentially you can turn the power on remotely, and that's a great feature. And if you want to turn it off, you essentially have to press this again, and now as you would see, the car is turned off again and you can lock it, and as you would see, the mirrors have folded again. Now with the key in the pocket, you don't really have to take it out, and just press this button here and you can enter the rather unique cabin of the Atto3. Now once you get inside this cabin, you'd realize that there is absolutely nothing like it that you have ever seen. It's quite unique. The take on the interior is very different from whatever I have seen in my entire automotive journalism career, and it's really refreshing. It's a departure from a lot of other cars that I've seen, and you might just get amazed by BYD's take on this interior. Let's start with this door panel, and the theme here is a rhythmic interior. So what BYD have done is taken inspiration from music, and if you see these strings here, they are somewhat like the strings of a guitar, and everything inside the cabin is in a flow just like music, and that's what this cabin has taken inspiration from. The materials are soft to touch, high quality, well finished. This material here is soft to touch, this is soft to touch, this material isn't, but this is rather good quality. The touch points are all good quality, and if you look at this door lever also, this is rather unique. So you have to pull this like a lever to unlock the door, and it's rather unique. Here you have mood lighting, that's ambient lighting, the LED strip, and it can be arranged in 64 different colors, and it can change its colors in accordance with music. You can also choose a set of colors that you wanted to play around with. Now looking at this panel here, you obviously have folding mirrors, and all 4 windows are auto down. Let's see them in action. You have a boot release button here, and right now you can see the ambient light in action too. You can store a small bottle here, although this space isn't enough for a 1 liter water bottle. The seat height here is just about ideal, and even the shorter ones amongst you won't have any problem. These seats are 6-way adjustable, although you don't get any adjustment for lumbar support. You also get a dead pedal for long distance comfort, and if you look at the AC vents, they have been inspired by the dumbbells that you see in the gym, and they again are very unique. So you can change the lateral direction from here, and the vertical direction can be changed like so, or you can completely shut the vents altogether. These things that you see here are only for decoration and they don't have any purpose. Now the steering here is decut, wrapped in leather, and all the functions are right here. It comes with level 2 ADAS, so all the ADAS functions can also be controlled. The distance from the front and rear cars can also be controlled from here. And if you look at the instrument console, this is rather unique. It's like a motorcycle instrument console. It's a color TFT screen, and it's 5 inches, although it's not the elaborate big digital instrument console that you get on a lot of other cars. So in that sense, it's a bit of a downgrade for me, but it has all the relevant information. The pièce de resistance though is this 12.8-inch screen, which is rather unique because not just is it one of the biggest screens in the segment, it also can be oriented in landscape or portrait modes, and you can just press this button here to change its orientation. It's very responsive to touch. It runs on an Android system and is very feature rich. You have an 8-speaker system. I tried it and it's fantastic. You have a lot of settings there, and all of them work. The bass is pretty good, and there's an equalizer, so that's fantastic. It also comes with voice command, and you have to say hi BYD to activate it. Open sunroof, and the response to commands is really fast, I can tell you that. So that again is a fantastic feature. And while we are on the topic of the sunroof, let's see the controls also. They are feather touch controls. You have the fore and aft controls separately here. So you just have to press it very gently like so to remove the blinds or bring them back on, and stop it wherever you want. And then it's a similar exercise with the glass panel as well. Just press it once and it will open for ventilation, or press it once again and it will go all the way back. This is how far back it will go. Want to take it further back? Keep it pressed and it will go all the way back. And to bring it back on, just touch the feather touch button again and it will come back and shut down completely. Both the sun visors have illuminated vanity mirrors, and the IRVM is also auto dimming. Now there are a ton of features on this instrument console, and it really demands a separate video, which I'm going to do. So let's quickly go through all the screens. You can turn it off like so and bring it on by touching it again. On the home screen, you'll find a ton of menus and features, and as I mentioned, it's really amazing. Now an interesting feature here is this camera, and you can take pictures like so or take a video also like so. But the 360-degree camera on this car also is amazing, and to bring it on you have to press this button here, and now you have the 360-degree camera on. Now this 360-degree camera system is one of the best that I've seen anywhere, and you can have a look at the front, you can have a look at the rear, at the side, on the right side. The front can be seen in a wide angle, the rear can be seen in a wide angle. You can see both the sides with the wheel, and of course you have this 360-degree view right here, and you can also get a projection of what's underneath the car as well. So that's again a fantastic feature. Apart from that, you also get a 360-degree projection of the car, and it's really fast. So it looks very cool, very responsive, and you have some predefined angles from which you can look at the car as well. So the 360-degree camera on this car is one of the best out there. Now the camera also doubles up as a driving recorder or dash cam, so that's an additional feature that you have. You have a ton of apps including Spotify, and this DAB is something that you won't have here. It's a Chinese radio. This feature will be removed on the production version. So as I mentioned, inside the audio settings you have the hi-fi room, live stage or off settings. You can also keep loudness on. In the vehicle settings you can change the steering mode from comfort to sport. Similarly, you can change the brake pedal regulation from comfort to sport. Ambient lighting colors can be chosen from here. You can change the ambient light brightness, etc. And there are a lot of options here with the ambient lighting. I will do a separate video on this screen also. Talking about the AC, you have only a single zone AC here. So although you have rear AC vents, you don't have a dual zone AC up front, nor do you have a zone at the rear. You get wireless charging, and the AC vents are the same as we saw on the left, and they take inspiration from the dumbbells. Now this panel here is also very interesting, and this is unlike the drive selectors that you see on a lot of other cars, and it doesn't move, it goes back in its original position. Now unlike a lot of other cars, you don't have P, R, N, D, L on the lever. The P is right here and R and D are on this lever right here. Start stop button is right here, the volume button is here, hazards are here, parking sensors, blind spot, and energy regeneration levels, which are two. You can either set it to standard or high using this little button here, and you can choose from normal, eco or sport modes from here. And you also have a snow mode, which is for conditions where you have less traction. This is to remove the fog, and then you have this button here to turn the AC in auto mode. Two cup holders which are rather deep, and if it's too deep you can use one of these to reduce the depth. Then you have this armrest which is done in this rather nice ribbed texture, and there is a lot of space underneath. As you can see, there is tons and tons of space, although none of the panels here or the storages are cooled. The glove box is reasonably sized as well, although this isn't cooled either. If you look at the dashboard, as I mentioned before, it's very interesting. It's done in this indigo blue kind of a color, and it's a very nice choice of colors. It's very organic, very wavy in form, and it's quite unlike anything else that I've seen. It's all soft to touch. And if you look at the lower part of the dashboard also, this part is also very soft to touch, although when you press it hard you find that there is not enough cushioning and you can feel the metal inside. So this probably could have been done a little bit better, but overall it looks very nice and very high quality. There is absolutely no problem there. Then the seats are also very nicely done. They're perforated, although you don't have a ventilated seating system here, so that's a feature that's missing here. The seats are very nicely bolstered, and if you look at the headrest, just look at how high the headrest goes. It's almost touching the roof. So in that sense the seats are very beautifully done, and you have these sporty pipings, these contrasting stitchings, and this nice stitching on the spine as well. They are perforated, so the seats look very sporty, very high quality. Could have done with a little more thigh support, but they are very comfortable. Talking about charging sockets, you have these two sockets here, including one USB socket and one type C USB socket. You also get this little micro SD card slot here and a 12-volt power socket. Of course this space can be used for storage, and you can put your wallet or cell phone or any other items. So in terms of storage space, while the bottle holder is not very big, you have a lot of space to store stuff, including this cavernous space here and this massive storage space here, and the glove box is not too bad either. All in all, it's a very unique, very nice, very differentiated and rather high quality dashboard that you have here, and you definitely feel that you are driving something really special, especially with all the ADAS features and functions that you have, and this beautiful 12.8-inch screen which can be oriented to your liking. Now to quickly reiterate the things that this car is missing: you don't have a two-zone AC, you don't have ventilated seats. I would have liked to have heated mirrors also. And maybe if this car had driver side seat memory, that would have been fantastic. But these are not features which are must have and are good to have, so I'm not complaining. In terms of safety, this car gets 7 airbags and is Euro NCAP 5-star rated. Now as I mentioned, this is quite a big car and it has a longer wheelbase than the Creta, so let's get to the back seat and see how much space do we have there. Now the materials on the door panel at the rear are just like the front, and all of this is soft to touch. You see the ambient lighting here as well. The door pull is the same as the front. You have soft to touch materials here, and the bottle holder also is quite small, just like the front. You have this guitar string kind of treatment here. The speakers are also done in a very beautiful manner, so all of that is very fancy. And the seat back is this beautiful leatherette with contrasting red stitching, so that really gives you a very nice view. You also get these magazine holders, and while that's good, had this not been there and if the seat back was scooped out, we probably would have had more space for the knee, although the space is generous and even the taller ones amongst you won't have any problem. The knee room is pretty good. You have some space under the front seat to move your legs around, and since this is a flat floor, you actually have the space to seat three, although not for very long journeys, but you can actually seat three here, as evident with the three separate headrests that you have for three different passengers. You also have a proper 3-point seat belt for the third passenger. AC vents are here with BYD design branding, and you have two power sockets and some space for a wallet or a small cell phone, although you don't have a rear AC zone, so you cannot set the temperature at the rear. You get this armrest with two cup holders, and just look at how far back this panoramic sunroof comes back. The headroom is not much though, and if you're 6 feet or taller, your head might just brush with the roof. The reading lights are feather touch, and you also have a coat hook along with a door handle. A missing feature here is the recline function for the seat back, and I would have really liked to have a recline function here since this is a premium car, but that feature is not there. The thigh support is pretty good, although I would have wanted this bench to be slightly higher for more support on the thighs. And since the bench height is not very high, you cannot really leverage the generous amount of thigh support that you have here. So the short height of the vehicle is a little bit of deterrent in making these seats the most comfortable, although you have enough space, and it's not something that I should be complaining about, but had this bench been higher, this would have been a little bit more comfortable. As you would expect, this car also gets ISOFIX child seat mounts, and as I mentioned before, these seats are 60-40 split as well. The powertrain is very quiet, and with the fantastic insulation of the car, it really makes it a very nice, quiet, airy space to be in, and it's one of the nicer back seats on any EV that you'd come across. Now let's talk about the most important part, which is the performance, and BYD have completely nailed it in terms of how a car should be for the Indian road conditions. First and foremost, the suspension is very absorbent, so you get a very nice, very plush, very comfortable ride. And while this is not the sportiest of the car, it has a very dependable set of four wheels, so you can really check it around corners. There is a wee bit of body roll, so this is not like a sports car, but it is very dependable, especially for the kind of comfort that it delivers. It really is a very good combination of good ride quality and fantastic handling. Now the second thing is the Blade battery that powers this car, and that really requires a mention because it's one of the most advanced battery stacks in the world and is very safe as well. This battery stack has been tested with nail penetration test, which is known as the Mount Everest of battery safety tests, which means it's the highest standard of safety. So this car indeed is very safe. Apart from that, BYD has also run a really heavy truck over the battery to make sure that it's one of the safest out there. So in terms of battery tech, BYD really are ahead in the game, and the Blade battery is something which is a high point of the Atto3 and all the other BYD cars. Now the battery capacity on this car is 60.48 kilowatt hour, which matches really well with the competition. In fact, if you compare it with even the EV6, which is a very accomplished car, it's not too far behind, because the EV6 has a battery stack of 77.4 kilowatt hour, but it's about 30 lakh rupees more expensive. If you compare it with the MG ZS, there the battery capacity is 50.3 kilowatt hour, so this gets 10 kilowatt hour more than the ZS, and it really reflects in the range also. Now the ARA range on this car is 521 kilometers, and even by conservative estimates, you can easily go 400 kilometers in the real world. So there is no range anxiety. How many times do you really manage to drive 400 kilometers in a day? And for day-to-day use, there absolutely is no problem. And I think that if you want to use it as your first driver, as in your everyday machine as well, there won't be any problem at all. So in terms of range, BYD really have you covered. The power on this car is 201 HP and the torque is 310 Newton meters, which can propel this from 0 to 100 in only 7.3 seconds, which is mighty quick. And just to put things in perspective, I'll compare it with the other cars also that I've been talking about. So the MG ZS does its 0 to 100 in 8.5 seconds, while the EV6, which is far more expensive, does it in quicker 5.2 seconds. Also, if you compare the power outputs, the ZS produces 174 HP and 280 Newton meters, and the EV6 produces 229 HP and 350 Newton meters. So as you can see, this is not too far behind in terms of performance, and it really is a very capable product if you compare the price of this car vis-a-vis the kind of performance and the range that it's offering. It's very close to the EV6, especially in terms of the range. So a very good value proposition. Also, it's loaded with ADAS, as I mentioned, and I think ADAS has been demonstrated many times, so I don't really need to demo it. However, all the controls are here and they're very easily located for you to get a very generous suite of level 2 ADAS systems, including adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking system, front collision warning, rear collision warning, blind spot detection, door open warning, which essentially means safe exit. So if there is a vehicle coming from behind, you can open the door and the car will warn you that a vehicle is coming from behind you. You also get rear cross traffic alert, rear cross traffic braking, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist. So all of that translates into a proper level 2 ADAS suite, which is as good as it gets. And this car has all the ADAS technologies that you would probably want, along with a very sophisticated 360-degree camera. It comes across as a very safe car as well. Now let's have a look at how well this lane keep assist works, and I put it on adaptive cruise control. It even observes two-wheelers ahead of it, and as you can see, it's reading the lanes rather well. And I tested it on half marked lanes also, and it does a fair job. When it's working, it's reading the lanes. This icon is green, otherwise it turns gray, and for the most part it works very well. But my request to you would be not to use it unless the highways are properly marked. Use it only on expressways. And as you just saw, you have to hold the steering, and if you leave the steering for too long, it gives you a warning, and then the lane keep assist will get disengaged. Now in terms of the steering generally is not very light. It has a reasonable amount of weight to it, but as you can see, you can change the steering modes from comfort to sport as per your liking, and in the sport mode it gains a little bit more weight. And to be very honest, this electric car isn't the more feelsome at the steering. If you want something which is as feelsome as a sports car, you'll probably be a little bit disappointed. It is artificially weighty and isn't the most involving. However, the acceleration on this car is absolutely fantastic, and not just that, also the way the power is put down on the road is quite reassuring, and the traction control really ensures that the wheel spin is not pronounced despite the kind of power and torque this car has. Even in the wet conditions, when I mashed the pedal, I could not feel the wheel spinning by too much, so the car is constantly sensing everything and putting down the power in a very reassuring manner. So checking this car around corners is quite reassuring. It feels like, as I mentioned, a very capable, very reassuring set of four wheels. It's not the most involving car, but the acceleration is quite good. You can feel the torque steer in the wheel. You don't want to be really driving it too enthusiastically around corners because it's not very involving. However, in terms of comfort, in terms of the sheer acceleration that it has, in terms of the sheer linearity of the acceleration, it's pretty good and feels like a very evolved product. The power delivery is creamy smooth, and save for the steering, which is rather dull and lifeless, the performance and the comfort is fantastic. The insulation is amazing as well, and there's hardly any noise coming in from the outside. The tire noise, the ambient noise, the wind noise, everything is cut very nicely. The road that we are driving on right now isn't very well paved. There are some undulations, there are some rough patches as well, but there is absolutely no noise coming in. So all of that is pretty good, and in that sense, I think BYD gives you an experience of driving a premium car. As I mentioned, the range is pretty good, and driving this car will rid you of the range anxiety that you generally associate with other electric cars. All in all, a fantastic product, and especially for a practical product, something that you want to be driving every day, it comes across as a refined premium product. Although this is not a driver's car per se, it's not an enthusiast's car, but a practical package nonetheless. So guys, that was the BYD Atto 3, which I really believe is a fantastic product, great value for money. And as you can see right now, we are stuck in a terrible cyclone in Chennai, and it's only a miracle that we have been able to carry out this review. But anyway, I hope that I was able to tell you everything about this car. It's available in 4 colors: grey, red, white and blue. And the great thing about this product is that it comes with a warranty of 8 years and 1,60,000 kilometers on the battery. So you can actually buy it with a complete peace of mind. It also comes with a product warranty of up to 6 years and 1,50,000 kilometers. You heard it right. So BYD is really backing their product. And if you buy this product, BYD is saying that they are going to take care of it. The price of this car is 34 lakh rupees. And to put things in perspective, the Kia EV6, which is at the extreme end of things, is 60 to 65 lakh rupees, while the MG ZS, which is slightly smaller and has a little less range, is available for 23 to 27 lakh rupees. For a price of 34 lakh rupees, I really believe that this vehicle offers a lot with level 2 ADAS, a ton of features and a size which is quite large as compared to what we have in the premium SUV segment. So a good product, and BYD is present in 21 cities as of now. By the end of 2023, they will be in 50 cities. So if accessibility is a problem right now, it won't be for a very long time. And the spares and service of this car will also be readily available very soon. I really hope that I was able to answer all your questions about this product. If you like the video, do hit that like button, subscribe to Motoroids, and until next time, this is Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.